Hey, all my IFG friends, this is Steve. I want to say, if you like movies like I do, we've started a new podcast called Happy Hour Flicks. You can find it anywhere podcasts are found. It's all about nostalgic movies that we love, and we bring on special guests each episode, and we also have specialty cocktails made for each one, too. So it really is an hour of a good time talking about movies that we love, like Gremlins, Seven, Free Willy. We talk about The Last Starfighter also. I mean, we kind of run the gamut across all the decades and really have a great time. So wanted to invite you to come over and join us. That's Happy Hour Flicks, anywhere podcasts are found.
He was definitely there, and he passed away a little bit before we shot Pickups, so his spirit was with us, throughout the rest of the film.
This is the
Independent
Filmmaker's Guide
from Framework Productions.
Framework
Productions.
On IFG, we talk about independent film from development through delivery. By featuring discussions with creators and collaborators about their experiences, we form a roadmap to help you have the most success with your projects. With big Hollywood studios increasingly producing so-called indie films that headline the festival circuit with top-tier celebrities, it may be easy to forget what that term actually means. Being truly independent from the studio system, the new micro-budget independent film, Pink Opaque.
I've read all the indie filmmaking books about doing two-handers, and the number one rule, don't have a lot of locations, and it was 100% written with these locations in mind that we could hopefully get the production value out of it.
That's Derek Perry, the director and writer.
And since it was such a small window frame for everything, we had to be completely just ready to go.
That is Ruby Park. She plays the character of Kristen Lee.
I know chemistry-wise, these things can be really tricky. If there's no real connection, then it can be very problematic.
That is Elijah Booth. He plays Travis Wolf and is a producer for Pink Opaque.
We like to say it's a little film made with love, because that's really kind of what it was. It was a group effort of a lot of people.
That's Dave Ragsdale, writer and executive producer for Pink Opaque.
I think it's a universal truth that independent films are pretty brutal on everybody. Like that they're a labor of love, and it is just the hits just keep coming.
I'm your host, Stephen Pierce.
So Pink Opaque, what is the film about? Derek, you wrote it and directed it, so why don't you kind of kick us off? Just give us the kind of a summation for somebody that's not seen the film, what they can expect.
Well, the film centers around our character Travis Wolf, played by Elijah Booth, and he is a film student that is struggling to finish his thesis film. He's kind of not putting in the time and the effort that he's shooting. He's just a little bit lost as an artist. So within that, one of the larger characters is actually the city of Los Angeles. And we see Travis reconnect with his uncle. We see a relationship that he has with Kristen, played by Ruby Park, a streetwise fashion designer who's hungry and has a zest for life that she infects Travis with. And it all kind of comes together at the final screening of the film where his thesis plays.
And David, when are you in this movie? Everybody else in this call is starring in it, directing it. When did we get to see your cameo?
Me? No, I'm just, if you just check the end credits, you'll see how busy I was trying to get everything done. So it's just an honor to be here with you guys. I appreciate the time you guys helping us get the word out about our little film. We like to say it's a little film made with love, because that's really kind of what it was. It was a group effort of a lot of people. What we received in kind, as they say, as you work your line items and your budget.
Yeah, so not dollars and cents. Yeah, just something.
Yeah, it was off the charts compared to what we actually had to spend on the film. And it took such a big group effort and people doing multiple jobs. Not only, Derek wrote and directed, but he was also dealing with styling and like crazy stuff, like things that would take him away from his job as the director. And same thing for, Elijah, help him pull the ropes, producing this thing with us, and Ruby running off with Chris Kill, which I have to say, there's a couple people I want to mention. First of all, Chris Kill, doing stylist, hair, and on-set makeup.
Yeah.
And she acting.
And acting.
Yeah, yes.
And a talent car. In charge of getting talent from one location to the next. Because you've seen Pink Opaque. We don't shoot in one place. We're all over the city. We've, you know.
Yeah, that was one of the
Derek can
things I was
speak
going to
that
comment
more.
on is like, it's not written and produced like in a way of many indie films where it's kind of two central locations that you shift between. It really is written to be a 40 location film.
Yeah, I mean, and that was not an accident. You know, I've read all the indie filmmaking books about doing two-handers, and the number one rule, don't have a lot of locations. And, you know, to me, I wanted to make an indie film like this when I knew we didn't have a lot of money, but that we could move around and there's flow and we're not in the same place and feeling static all the time. And it was 100% written with these locations in mind that we could hopefully, you know, get for, you know, how we could get them and get the production value out of it.
Yeah. How did it feel for you guys, Elijah and Ruby? I mean, Elijah, you're in almost, I think, if not every scene of the movie, almost every scene of the movie. So you're flying between locations, probably only getting a couple of takes per scene. And what was that experience like? Did it feel like it ever slowed you down, like you needed a little bit more?
I wouldn't say it slowed me down. I think the process was actually pretty seamless. Even at times we had to, like, you know, last minute switch locations just because of weathering, you know, at times. I think there was a big fire that was going on, guys. I believe.
We could tell that little story.
Yeah.
That could be a whole podcast.
That could be, that day, I think it was day 7 or day 8.
It was kind of like right in the middle of the shoot. Like
right in the middle. I think it was day 8, but just going back just a little bit, just maybe for your editor or whatnot, speaking about being able to move between locations and Derek and I kind of coming at this from a non-traditional POV. If you think about independent films, you know, being in kind of a lockdown room, just a few actors, just a few locations, is luckily he and I have worked together for years. So we had a very shorthand walking into this and knowing what we could and could not kind of capture at any one time or any one location. So there was a confidence that we had in each other that we could kind of go, all right, look, we could pull this off, and we could do a quarter day here and a quarter day there and a half day here, and we can actually get in 6 scenes or whatever. And so that's one of the things I'm really proud about is that ability for all of us as a team. And then there's someone else I want to mention when we go back and talk more about the team, if we do that. And it just everybody really working hard to create kind of this flow that as disorganized or as low budget as it was, it still had high levels of execution. And every day we were coming back to the edit room with like usable material. And that speaks a lot to like Derek and our DP Ryan, and literally people like Ruby and Elijah and all the cast just rolling with it and going with it and trusting us. And that was the biggest thing, is keeping everybody's trust in the vision that Derek had and the process that we were putting on the set for everybody. And I think it worked out pretty well.
How much preparation were you guys doing? Did you get to do a lot of rehearsals, and what kind of prep work were you doing before hitting scenes?
No, there was pretty much, we had a table read probably about a week before the shoot, maybe 10 days before the shoot.
With not even the full complete cast. We still didn't have the full complete cast. That was who we knew.
Who you knew you could get, or you knew who you had.
Or we thought we could get, and like we thought would make good person for which role or whatnot. But it was, and then continue there. I mean, we basically,
even those roles switched, you know, from the table read to the final shoot. You know, we had people switch flip-flop roles, people get replaced. You know, it was just from everything, the whole process of this was very, very fluid. You know, it was about having intuition and saying, hey, look, this feels like the right thing to do, let's move in this direction, you know, instead of saying like, oh, we said we would do this, so like let's lock to it even though it's not working, you know, like let's just power through it. It was very much like, hey, this scene isn't working, or this dialogue's not working, let's flip it around, you know. And
Ruby, Elijah, how'd you guys get involved?
So
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ruby.
Well, for me, it was just like a series of auditions. I came on board, I don't know, maybe on the beginning stages, and then they had another casting. It was a long process, I think, for them to find a Kristen for this movie. And then also, I think from the very last minute too, like you can talk about, I think Elijah was also brought on board even before they cast someone else, and then Elijah came on board too, from what I remember. But yeah, you can talk about that, Elijah, maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure. I actually got the script, I want to say 3 weeks prior to production. So it was a quick turnaround for me, but the script definitely came across my desk. After I read the first 10 pages, I was in love. And I knew that I really had to do this film. Not even just for me, but just for other people, specifically that look like me. I think it's really important to see African American characters in other roles. You know, we don't have to be pigeonholed to playing a certain type of stereotype. We can be a normal, African American kid from the suburbs, and yeah, I thought that was really important to be a part of and help show.
Absolutely. So how did you, once you kind of get the cast together, how many days did you guys actually have to shoot? What was your actual production schedule?
Well, we had about 16 days of principal photography, and that was our run. And then a few months later, after Derek and I really, kind of got everything assembled, and our editor was now working on kind of really sweetening what we had, Derek, we found some big holes. So we went back and shot for 4 days. Derek wrote some great pickup scenes that really kind of thread the needle of this, so to speak. I think they were really important scenes, and it was great to have. So total of 20 days. And then there was about 12 days of drone photography. But that wasn't, 12-hour each day. It was, catching, sunrises, catching sunsets, doing certain locations within Los Angeles. You can only fly for certain times, as, all that kind of goes with, drone insurance and regulations and all those kinds of things. But yeah, that's about it. And then we had about 2 months of pre-production, Derek, that you and I were in the office.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say before shooting, almost 3, because it's really like
3?
August, September, October, basically.
You're right. Yeah.
We shot in November, so like 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
and then maybe this is a good point to bring in the person I really want to talk about, which is Courtney Poe, our co-producer.
Oh yeah.
So Courtney, my goodness gracious.
She held it down. She held it.
She was the glue for everything. Yeah. I like to say she was the only person in the entire production that actually touched every single contract, every single invoice, every bill, every location, every schedule, every meal, everything. It all went through her. Each department, not that we had departments, but everybody had to go through Courtney, and she came to us as a casting assistant during just as a fill-in for our casting director's assistant.
Yeah, like one day. Yeah, it was like one day where a casting director couldn't make it, so she had her assistant kind of come and be her for that day.
Yeah, and it was like, hey, you like indie movies, you know? And she just joined on, and boom, like Courtney she's. I don't know. I'm
she
so
was
impressed
perfect.
with her.
She was perfect.
It sounds like a cornerstone. I mean, it's crazy how indie films and these productions do kind of create these little almost like road shows where everybody kind of gets on the bus and rides together, and then you get off and you have this special bond kind of at the end of it. Is that kind of like, what was it like for moving so quickly? So you had 16 days to shoot your main photography. Ruby, Elijah, what was it like whenever you guys were doing these scenes? Like, how did you find your connection and find your through line in the relationship? No rehearsals.
To be honest,
sorry. Go ahead, Ruby.
Oh, I can kind of speak on this because it was actually my first time meeting Elijah. Well, I guess we did the table read, but as like, Kristen, because we did have that switch in role. So I definitely wanted to read with Elijah beforehand. We had actually the most romantic scene first up. So
that's the way it goes, isn't it? Like, here you go, 3, 2, 1.
Right. Yep. And now you're in love. So it was obviously something I wanted to do, at least interact with him, have a chat, even if we didn't get through the script. but a lot was going on. We had to do our hair and makeup, like the outfits weren't ready. Like there's a lot going on, as you know, like in the indie set. And since it was such a small window frame for everything, I think we were just like on it. We had to be completely just ready to go. And I think that's where it was really helpful working with Elijah and also Derek and Dave, because they were really helpful on the sidelines as well, helping me in understanding like what their process was like, which was really important to me. We were chasing sunsets at that time, so we really had to get that scene like ready to go. There were waves and sand in our eyes, like it was a lot. We were just having fun.
Yeah.
Indie filmmaking, right?
It was fun.
Yeah.
That's the day, sorry to interrupt, but that's the day the Ventura fire started.
Right.
And we were not only chasing 60-mile-an-hour winds that were blowing out the parking lot where we were staged. Thank God there was a bluff there where the wind was above the talent and these guys down on the beach. And if you watch it again, you'll see the sunset sky. We have the most beautiful, like soft filter out there because it's just
smoke diffusion.
The smoke diffusion from the Ventura fires that were coming down through Malibu. And we're like chasing fire, like running from fires to get this and chasing golden hour.
That's November 2019 when that happened?
Yeah. And that's Ruby's first day on set. So thank God she didn't quit and disappear.
So did you lose, I heard you mention a second ago, I think, did you lose a location because of that? Because it's really funny is I was directing a commercial November 2019 when that happened and I lost a whole
I think it was actually 2018 though. It was 2018.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Never mind then. So so you
the big fires of 18 though. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then luckily we didn't end up losing a location, but we had to switch the next day a little bit in order to avoid any of the kind of fire marshals and whatnot that were really out and alert throughout Los Angeles. So we had to be a little more covert the next few days, filming things in the parks and in the woods and things like that. As to avoid any unwanted attention from the fire marshals, but everything was safe. We were always safe. So,
right. Absolutely. So Elijah, back to the question a second ago, how was it to develop this role? Because it feels like you're probably moving through some of these scenes really for the first real time right before you shoot it.
Yeah. It was, I'm extremely grateful that I had a really great experience. I got to work with Ruby, who was amazing. I know chemistry-wise, these things can be really tricky. Mm-hmm. And, if you guys don't hit it off or if there's no real connection, then it could be very problematic, especially when you have two lead characters like that, that are kind of really intertwined throughout the entire film. I know for me, experience-wise, I'd never done anything like this before. So I just think that I had to, just go there and dig a little bit deeper to, just make sure that I pulled out that sense of romance, excuse me. But we got it. And Ruby definitely helped with that. Dave and Derek definitely got me there just because I had so many scenes. We shot 16 days straight.
Did you have any days off, Elijah? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think I did. I think if I did, it was one day.
It was just one.
But yeah. So and then on top of making sure that I built that relationship with Kristen. Now balancing the producer's hat, which was very new for me as well. So I think while still building Travis and while still building all these layers that Travis had to, go through, I think I was also building layers and trying on different hats myself. So it was just a really big, new, beautiful experience for me as a whole.
So this film was completely made like with independent funding. You guys did everything completely just kind of the old hustle and handshake and a smile kind of deal, right? So what were some of the challenges of that in the early stages that if you were going to do this again, or somebody that is about to go do their own independent financing, anything that you've come across, like experiences you can share on that?
We used basically a phrase, because everyone would ask you, hey, what's your budget? And the God's honest truth was as close to free as possible. That's literally, I don't even know how many times Derek
that became like a mantra, basically.
That was the mantra. Like, and so, if any of our, like Mario, one of our producers who, found a ton of our locations for all on the cuff, stuff like that. So he would come back to me and say, well, what do we have to spend on this? And I was like, dude, you know the answer. It's as close to free as possible. One set of advice I would definitely have for any producer or director or writer who wants to go out and do something like this is save more money for post-production than you think you need, because you need more money in post-production than you think you need. That's the truth. You need more money in post than you think you need. Yeah. And you need things like money for legal. You need things for money for clearances. You need things for title searches. You need things for your script clearances. Those are all thousands of dollars that film. To be honest, I didn't even really think about. And I've been in the industry for 20 years, not making films. I make, Derek and I work on branded content stuff. We help, promote movies and sell soda pop or whatever for a living, But when you get into the nitty gritty of this stuff, you get down to very, very, very costly items that you think you're already past the finish line.
Yeah, it gets really granular, and there's always another door that you have to open. And unfortunately, most of the time you need to pay someone to open that door.
Yeah. And then as soon as that door opens, there's
another one.
Literally another door.
Another one. Yeah.
And it's like, it's like the Russian doll or whatever you want to call it. But it's, you think you're there, and then all of a sudden you're not. And then you think you're there, and then you're not. And then you think you're there, and then you're not. And that's been like 8 months of Derek and my life since like
being finished with being finished with the, the cut of the film, and you're not finished.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You filmed in November, December 2018, and you're releasing now in August 2020. So what was the path of getting from wrap to release?
Well, Derek, you want to talk a little bit about post, and then I can take it for the distribution stuff?
Sure. So, from wrap, it was about 2 or 3 months of, actually I'd say 2 months of me and Dave getting together, like what we felt was like a good rough edit, kicking that over with some people and getting some opinions, and then, fine tuning that some for another few weeks, and deciding that, which, I think we always kind of knew that at some point we bring in another editor to kind of be that different set of eyes. We both have extensive post background, so it's not like we don't know our way around the keys or anything in the programs, but it's just a perspective. So about a month after we kind of got that first edit together, we started searching for new editors, and we brought on board a really, really great editor named Autumn Dia. And she spent probably like 3 months or so getting down to like a really, really tight cut, which and again, and this is actually another thing I'll say in the process is audio. Work with your audio guy like in front of you or in his studio or somewhere, because doing the whole file like just working remotely with the audio guy actually took pretty much that whole summer, so to speak, like another 2 months or so, up until September. And then we started applying to festivals. And so then you do the waiting game into the festivals until about January, start hearing back. And we had our opening night premiere in January, and it's been some festivals since then. And from there, we got distribution, which I'll let Dave talk to you about.
Well, yeah, it's been kind of, I want to be polite here, but it's like swimming with the sharks. There's a lot of people that want Pink. They just don't want to pay for it. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Whenever you get to distribution in indie film, it's a whole minefield.
Yeah, and that's again kind of what we were saying. You know, you open one door, and then you're actually standing in front of a, you know, your nose is pressed against another closed door. But you know, we had some offers, and I really appreciate those offers, and we've had some great interest. And then, you know, the pandemic kind of slowed and kind of grinded everything to a halt. So we were supposed to come out in March, but with this all happening, we basically got placed behind a lot of other content that was either slated for theaters or already slated for, you know, subscription release or Netflix release or whatever. So everything just kind of went to a grinding, you know, straight up stop. And then our sales team and whatnot have been working on trying to get deals. We had a deal with a streamer that fell through because of the economy, blah, blah, blah. They weren't taking on new product because they had better things from the studios that they can now take that were slated for theatrical release, yada, 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 yada. So now we're here in August, obviously, releasing on Amazon on Monday, the 31st. We've still hoping to get a real distribution deal, but right now we're staying full independent. So we're technically, you know, I'm the distributor, you know, technically right now, but you know, we do have interest from a couple places, and we'll see how it fans out. And now to be honest, with some of this little bit of legs we're getting with some of the festivals, you know, being part of American Black Film Festival this week, you know, we're up and we're going to be part of the Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival, which is a kind of a big deal. We're in the Urban Film Festival in Miami. We're in the Los Angeles Black Film Festival coming up. We're in a couple others. I to be honest, I can't keep track. And so we're just, it's all little baby steps each way, you know, but the grind continues, you know, and that's advice for people that have desire to do this is remember that it really is a marathon. There's no way to do this without,
there's a lot of delayed gratification in the process.
Yeah, like you have to, you do the work 2 years ago and you don't actually get to appreciate it and see it till now.
Exactly.
So with doing independent distribution, are you going direct? Obviously you're on Amazon, or will be, because your page is already built out there. What other platforms did you target, and did you go through aggregators, or how was your path to get to there?
So we're working with a sales team at a company called Automatic Entertainment, and you know, they're great guys. They've been hustling, trying to get us deals and whatnot. So they set us up basically through Quiver, you know, but we're doing it two ways. We're going Amazon direct with Amazon, because you can just upload right to Amazon, and then we're using Quiver for iTunes. But we're not really going further than that, because there's still some hope that we might be able to get some sort of paid deal for this. So right now we're just kind of keeping low. The iTunes date should be available in the next, 30 days. We'll get the date. It takes about 90 days now for Quiver to be able to assign you a date, because of how much everything's backed up in there. And, you know, basically everyone has a movie now that needs to go on the streamers. So it's everything's clogged. Everything is 3 times as long to the process.
So in taking on independent distribution of your own film, in lieu of like having a distributor in play, that means you guys are going to be doing, how are you approaching all the extra legwork you need to do?
The 30,000 foot view on how we're handling, you know, independent distribution is kind of the following. Right now, I'm kind of the distributor and, say, the publicist. Right now, Derek is acting in the role of more of the ad agency. He's, you know, editing materials, creating content for us, working on new trailers, while I'm taking those branded assets that he has and I'm repurposing them and finding new homes for them and finding, outlets on social media or whatnot to place those assets that Derek's creating for us. And then Elijah is kind of our point person out there. He's kind of the tip of the sword, if you will, dealing with most of our interviews, dealing with generating more publicity and more press for us, and also helping coordinate and arrange press for us. He's reaching out through his publicity team and his contacts, his personal contacts, and doing a lot of that legwork in order to get people to know the name Pink Opaque, because first of all, it's hard to pronounce, hard to spell. No, but you know, it's really a team effort. And then we have, you know, obviously the wonderful Ruby here, who has a great social media presence. And so she's always pumping out everything that we're posting, putting it out there. And we still, thank gosh, we still have the support of our cast primarily and a lot of our crew. There was a lot of love that was developed or I don't know the right word, but there's a lot of love for Pink Opaque. The crew still doesn't hate us. You know, the cast still doesn't hate us. Everyone's really excited about seeing this come out and being part of this. And so that's really, it's all a grassroots effort, and it's a huge team effort. It's not, there's no way one person can do it. And I would feel horrible for anybody that was in that position where they had to do it themselves. But I don't know, maybe Derek can talk a little bit about this too.
I think there is a silver lining, because I'll start by saying all the films we've done so far and everything, you guys have the best packaging of anybody that's sent us anything. You're very extremely organized with how it came through. And I'm just saying this as a kind of a lesson that I learned from watching this come from you guys. It's like, and your key, everything was cleanly organized. You got a digital EPK, you got behind the scenes photos, you got still images, you got composite images that give you a mood for the film, basically like a broken out mood board. You've got, I mean, obviously stills pulled directly from the film and all packaged in a very clean way that came through. So first of all, very much thank you for that, because that gave us a lot to work with, and it was very easy to do, which is, I mean, we've worked with, films of varying sizes, and no one's been as clean with that yet. So I think that's
great to hear. Thank you. Because we've worked very hard on that.
It shows. It really shows.
That's kind of what Derek and I.
Yeah, I mean, it's like our background.
Yeah,
I mean, we work in the commercial branded industry, so we get the power of good images and making things easy for press people and all that.
And it seems, and again, this is my understanding of distribution currently, is that it seems like a good idea from a hypothetical where you're going to get into a festival, you get attached to a big distributor of some kind. They give you the US, probably not even theatrical, but they're going to put you on a platform like, a streaming platform in the US, and then you get some foreign sales and all that's great. But that usually what comes along with that is a bunch of overhead funds and a bunch of money that really, depending on the film and the general interest of the film, the possibility of recouping and making money is almost impossible. So you guys almost have an advantage at being really packaging this well and being able to go direct to TVOD, to where you can, and especially the big key thing you guys have done seems like is keep your budget low. So I'm interested to know what you think and what your prospects are to go to these TVOD platforms. And I think you have, honestly, a good possibility of making your money back and getting to make another film.
We hope that's the plan.
That'd be great.
The whole reason we did this, ultimately, it's not to be disrespectful to Pink Opaque at all, but this is a demo reel for Derek and I, basically. I'm a director myself. I'm a producer. We've done pretty much everything in the business: documentaries, TV, whatever, live shows, commercials. Between the two of us, there's almost nothing you can point to in the production world that we haven't done other than a narrative feature. And so some tequila shots and a good friend of ours dying from brain cancer, and then boom, there we are 2 years later. We did this. So that's one thing. We really did it. This came from a place of love. But going back to what you were mentioning, yes, because we have the capabilities that we have in the industry, the ability to create EPKs, commercials, promos, trailers, teasers, whatnot, advertising, posters, blah, blah, blah. It made the deals that we did have with the distributors that were interested in us there wasn't business to be done there because the amount of money that they wanted to recoup. And so I tried many times. Well, actually each time I tried and said, listen, we can provide these things for you. This is what we do. This is our day jobs. Look at our resume of work, and just please swap the recoupment fees for what we will deliver to you. And that was always a deal breaker for them, because their recoupment fees were really pretty high for what they were charging you for.
I don't think the only film that's had that experience at all.
No, I'm sure. And so that's why it wasn't super scary to walk away and say, we're going to just do it ourselves.
You mentioned a good friend dying of brain cancer. What was that story, and how did that motivate you to move into narrative filmmaking?
Well, Mike Mandela, I'm going to cry. Hell of a guy. Great executive producer, owner of a company called Black Diamond Media. they did a lot of really, really, really big time movie premieres. That they were like one of the main, they still are, but he was one of the main guys. You know, you want to pull off a big Hollywood blockbuster movie premiere, you know, live to the world with cameras flying everywhere. Mike Mandela was one of your guys. So long story short, he was diagnosed with brain cancer shortly before Derek and I decided to do this. You know, we went out for some tequila, and then a few weeks later, Derek sent me the first draft of Pink, or whatever draft it was at that point. And I said to Mike in the office, I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, look, man, what are you waiting for? You know? And it was like, yeah, what am I waiting for? So we did it. We just, you know, I was able to, you know, beg my wife for a few bucks, and Derek was able to beg his mom and family for a few bucks. And
Mike was there. I mean, Mike, you know, graciously gave us the office space to start pre-production in. He was there while we were casting, you know, I mean, he'd come into the room and how you guys doing? I mean, he was honestly told us on many occasions how inspired he was by seeing what we were doing, you know, as we were going through our pre-production process, you know, and into shooting. So it was, you know, he was definitely there, and he passed away a little bit before we shot Pickups, you know, so his spirit was with us, you know, throughout the rest of the film.
That's very touching. And go ahead.
It's a bummer we weren't able to get it done before, but he did come into the edit bay often, watch some scenes, and he was like, you guys are great. So just keep doing it, you know?
That's fantastic. I mean, it's a great reminder to, you know, you can't wait for someone else. No one else is ever going to show up and make something happen for you.
That's the number one thing about all of this. You'll never get a chance to do one of these without doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. No one will, as
it
much
takes
as my
ID
resume,
to get ID.
Yeah, exactly. You literally, you can look at my resume, whatever. I've worked with everybody, whatever. No one would give me a shot to do a movie.
Mm-hmm. You have to make your own way. I want to talk a little bit about like kind of the collaboration with you, Ruby, Elijah, Derek, and like a little more creative background now. So what was it like? Because I assume with 16-day schedule, 16 days, right? You didn't have a lot, 18? 16, sorry.
16 on principal and 4 for pickups.
But yeah, 16 principal. But looking at that principal time, I'm guessing, you didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of takes and a lot of coverage. So what was it? How was your collaboration? How did it start and how did it grow over the process?
You know, well, I mean, it shifted. There's when we were talking earlier, you know, it kind of reminded me when we were shooting, one of the things we would do, you know, we'd have this short amount of time to shoot a scene, and we'd get the scene, and sometimes we'd be running short on time, and you know, we developed this kind of shorthand to be able to basically run through a scene without cutting, and to just keep running it back and altering it, and in order to save time and get into a rhythm. And like, you know, say if Elijah was not really feeling the energy of a scene, to kind of get him there without having to cut the camera, and really just have him the repetitiveness of it to sort of get him quickly to where he needed to be to get the scene so we can move on to the next thing. So throughout the process, there were all kinds of little things that we adapted to the creative in ways to best serve the project.
Yeah.
Which if I can,
which was a little jarring for probably Elijah at first.
I was I was gonna say, as an actor, and you know, with these specific techniques that we have to learn in order to really do our job, punching those lines was never one of those skills. So it just really took a beautiful team of just so many amazing people that were willing to be chameleons and adapt to that. And every actor on set was, even if it was like, you know, some of these actors, it was their first time even being on a set, and they were just on it and able to just pick everything up and do it with love. But I can say that, honestly, I took so many notes from these guys. If this is your first, well, I mean, clearly this is your first narrative. I mean, job well done. Because I've worked on a couple features that one is just now coming out after 4 years, and one still has not come out. So most people, you know, who are first-time feature makers, they they either don't finish the film or the film just really never gets made. And you guys did it, and you did it well.
Mhm.
Thank you,
You know?
Elijah.
Yeah.
Ruby, was there ever any?
It took the village.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Ruby, was there ever any times, like scenes that you remember that you wanted to get another take, or you're rushing to kind of get the moment and it was kind of hard to get into, or maybe one that clicked right away that you weren't expecting?
I think actually with every scene, I was kind of like, oh man, I wish I could do that again. It really was a rush, like we were all saying. And you can never be, quote unquote perfect, right? With whatever you're doing as an artist, you're just constantly working with whatever you've got in the moment, and really just being present. So yeah, I think I would say just every single scene, I was just like, oh man, I really wish I could have done this or that. But, looking back on everything, and as I'm watching the film too, I'm like, wow, Dave and Derek, like as they were putting these things together, they really captured things that even I weren't understanding in the moment, if that makes sense. And I think that really came together seeing it on screen. But yeah, it was a rush every day. I came on set. I remember this one day, I definitely had a breakdown and Dave was there. He was like, are you okay? And yeah, he definitely, like, it was just like scene after scene after scene. And then you're like traveling from here to there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I need a moment. Like I needed just like a moment to take for myself. And I think as artists, you just really, it's not like we're machines. Like we need to get through the scene and do it well, but also we're not going to be able to, unless it's going to come off that way, but we need time to recoup and get back to at least a neutral state so that we can then go back into this new scene in a way where we're able to really put something forth that, everyone can be proud of. Right. So yeah, I think that was tough for me. Yeah.
Are there things like now, because I think it's a universal truth that independent films are pretty brutal on everybody, like that they're a labor of love, and it is just the hits just keep coming. So as a performer and as an actor, when you're trying to do something, emotional, tough, are there things that you've encountered or that you think of that filmmakers can do to help enable little things or big things that you don't have happen, or things that, you wish happen?
I would say specifically for me, just because a lot of my experience prior was mainly on, different studio films. So I was used to always having a trailer. I was used to always having a first team AD. I was used to always having all of these extra things that when I showed up on, one of my first sets for an indie film, I was just like, okay, well, where's this? Oh, okay, well then all right, and so, but it was very humbling. It was very humbling, and it really kind of woke me up to, just realize this is the heart of everything. This is really the tiny heartbeat that pretty much, at times doesn't get as much light, because a lot of people are just, obviously studio films are huge, but indie filmmaking is really the heart of all of this stuff. And yeah, but the entire experience for me was super beautiful. Yeah.
Ruby, is there anything that you can think of that that when it happens, it helps you?
I think I just wanted to mention Dave. He was really, and Derek, like Derek and I had like phone conversations even prior to, getting on set and talking about how I felt about a scene. And he was very collaborative in the sense that he wanted, how would you say this? Like if you were in this situation, like how would you, approach this? And he was very much like wanting to work with me as Kristen. So I was very appreciative of that. And then Dave was here on the sidelines, really like helping me with reading the lines, like going through the scenes and like, hey, like, you ready? You got this. And like, just like really getting me in that headspace, which is really nice. And like I said, just going from scene to scene and driving, and there's like travel time, right, too. But even during the travel time we're shooting. So it was just like, just nonstop. And I think for any filmmaker, as an artist, I would really say, as much as there is like, it's gonna be like, I called it indie film boot camp. Like I felt like I was in boot camp when I was on this, really, truly. And I think if anything, I learned the most being in this kind of environment. And that's what I love about filmmaking, period. But also like just being in this environment, in this indie world where literally everyone's doing everything. There's no egos. People are really just trying to help each other and make the best product, period. And that's what I got from this experience. And I was really, actually really grateful to everyone on set, not just like, you know, the people here, but everyone that was so hands-on. And, you know, we had a really good dynamic off set too. And my brother Bobby, like we even like chatted off before we even shot, and we're like, you know, siblings, we got to be as close as possible. Like you can't just fake that. So we were just, you know, chatting and sharing each other's family stories and just trying to connect on that deeper level, which I think is important. As an artist, you want to build that relationship from somewhere. It doesn't come from nothing. So I think that was important too, just spending time outside of filming. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I want to be I don't want to overuse anybody's time here. So I'm just going to get on the last couple of things I've got here. Again, thank you guys very much for taking the time to come on. One of the most successful things of the film and that I really enjoyed was the overall look and color palette. And I think that mostly comes down to the lighting that you guys use, down to the club scenes with, you know, the bisexual color palette, which I really love, those gradiated pinks and, you know, subtle contrast to the blues and cyans and stuff. So what kind of lighting instruments were you using that were you moving so fast? And then just technically what camera and lenses as well?
Yeah, I wish our DP Ryan was here to kind of answer some of the more specifics, but just to back up, you know, photography in a film is, you know, to me, like where I really, really like enjoy. So, you know, wanted to make sure the photographer of this looked great, and we kind of narrowed it down to two DPs. One that I had worked with more in the commercial world, who I knew could make stuff look really great. He'd done some features, you know, had that experience. And then another one that was a recommendation, which ended up being Ryan, who had never shot a feature and had really only mainly worked in the reality TV world. And what me and Dave decided was that Ryan's advantages of working in that reality world and being able to light 360 and being able to use small instruments and be able to move fast was ultimately going to be a better fit for the film. So we ended up going with him.
So you ended up going with a more 360 approach, which in my understanding when I do it is you usually do practicals, some overhead riggings, maybe a couple of big sources off to the side, but the whole intention is you're not getting a bunch of small units in the frame or right out of the frame. So whenever you have to turn the camera around, you have to move all this shit. It's
exactly.
Yeah, you're like bringing in some neg and some bounce and some like things like this, but basically trying to keep it so you can move quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for the wides, you know, once you move into the closer stuff, then yeah, you can finesse and bring in some other instruments. But I mean, we kept things pretty much, you know, for a lot of scenes, especially when we were in Robin's house, those interior scenes were like 360-degree lighting.
Yeah, and also one of the biggest things that, you know, thank God for Ryan, it was more about light shaping. It was taking light away, shaping what practicals and what, you know, light was there in the actual location. Because we shot, you know, we didn't shoot anything on a stage. Everything was all, you know, practical location. So that was one of his biggest gifts, I think, was actually shaping and taking away light. And really that created a much better composition in our frame overall.
Yeah.
But Ryan, I can't even, we got lucky. We got lucky with Ryan. Like, I mean, the list is there. Like we got lucky with so many things, you know, like chasing fires and landing Elijah and switching Ruby out and finding a new Wallace in the middle of the production.
Yeah.
You know, we like literally cast. We
and
recast
Baker as
the
well,
role,
right? Or no?
No. Baker was actually Baker and Daniel, who played. Yeah, the Daniel who plays Bobby Lee, Kristen's older brother. He was one of the first people we cast, and he jumped on as an associate producer, bringing friends, family, free stuff, whatever. and then Professor Baker was kind of one of the other characters we really locked on. But anyway, going back to the lighting, Ryan Vanner, genius. Hire him. Call him.
I've known a lot. I mean, in that world, that definitely like being able to work documentary is very, very beneficial. So I think I know the answer to part of this question because I've seen the BTS photos. But do you remember what camera and lenses you shot on?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to take that, Derek? You want?
I don't remember the lenses, but yeah, we shot on the Alexa Mini.
Yeah, we shot Alexa Mini, Ari Raw, and we used the Zeiss Super Speeds set. So we had basically we lived on a 35, a 50, and a 85, pretty much. I think. Unless did you go wider than 35?
No, we never went wider than 35.
It was all about, and talking to you a little bit about the work that Derek and Ryan did together. It's about trying to keep whatever was inside our frame as authentic and real and professional as possible. And that's one bit of advice I would give to any young filmmakers that are trying to get out there and do what they want to do is authenticity within the frame, and don't force something that is just going to look kind of fake and not real and not palatable. So, for example, during the scene when Elijah first comes and meets his uncle and he's looking around the house, right? We didn't have a massive production design budget for where, in Derek's great script where he walks around and looks at all these, Emmy Awards and whatever, all this stuff. We didn't have that. So what we did was we focused on Elijah looking around the room and not the room itself. And it's making choices like that that help carry what you can actually put in front of the camera and in front of the lens on set that makes it authentic, makes it real, and you focus your POV and your vision for these characters in a way that audiences consume that's in a professional, in a real pro manner, I guess.
So Elijah and Ruby, why don't we go with you first? But what are you guys up to next? Where can people, should they expect from you during all this pandemic?
Well, I have, like Elijah said, I really don't know when these films are going to be coming out. Like I have two other films that I worked on, but this 2020 was supposed to be the release date, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm on Sargetto and One and the Same, or Instagram. So that's where you can find me.
What's your Instagram handle if people wanted to follow you?
It's Ruby H Park.
Elijah, you have anything else that people should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I have another film touring the festival circuit right now called City. And then I also have a lot of music coming out that I'm really excited about. And you guys can stay tuned with me on Instagram at Elijah Booth. And for more updates on Pink Opaque, follow at Pink Opaque Film.
David and Derek, where can we find Pink Opaque?
Yeah, well, you can find Pink Opaque, like Elijah said, at pinkopaquefilm.com on Instagram and pinkopaquefilm.com on the regular internet. And for me, I'm just really hoping that Pink can find the audience that I know it deserves. There's so far playing the festivals, people have really, really gravitated and been influenced and touched by the film. So I just want to bring that out there to the larger world and let more people, share that with more people.
Okay, great. What I love about this team and this film is that it is a real independent movie.
No, absolutely.
We hear independent movie, and it's a studio making a movie, which, the whole point in the origin of independent movie was it was independent from the studios, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, I think that this is this is a micro budget film, and micro budget films are so frequently what people are making in the independent film world, and they're self-distributing. I think it's ultimately going to be a blessing for them in that, because having too much P&A, having too much marketing costs, they just never have a chance to make their money back. Whereas if you do it individually, you drive a niche audience and you put in the legwork, you can do it. And their materials are really good. Their distribution materials are some of the best I've seen in an indie film.
They have it tied up and they're doing it right. And they have their EPK package and their behind the scenes photos and their advertising all organized and done in a very clean, effective way that I think should be beneficial to them. I know they're having a hard time recouping their expenses, but I think ultimately it's going to work out for them because, and you and I have looked at a lot of this in the modeling of these things, it's always hard to recoup your expenses and it's always hard to come full circle, but the lower your budget is, the easier that becomes. And I don't know exactly what their budget was, but I know they went extremely low on it. So that should ultimately help them come full circle.
It's a strong first film. I mean, for people that are, they're just entering into the narrative world, they obviously have experience outside of that. But they kept their budget low and they made it well. They're packaging it well. I really think they're going to find success. And that's exactly what they said. This is sort of a demo reel for them. I'm sure that they mean that, also that the story is very important, obviously. All that's a given. If you don't have a real passion to tell the story you're telling as a film, it's never going to make it. Like, you have no hope. But I think that, that they set out to, they've succeeded where they set out to, this is like a really good proof of concept that they can make a film. And next time I think they'll get to make it for more money too. And that'd be great.
And we have the same big takeaways we get from so many of the people we interview. Don't wait. No one else is going to come in here and save you and make your movie for you. Mm-hmm. You need to start. You need to raise the money. You need to make the movie. And you need to put together a team that's going to be all in.
Right. 16 days also of principal photography with 4 days of pickups. That's, and then some B unit stuff with the drone. That's a decent schedule by the time you get those extra 4 days. But the 16 days, that's a hell of a run.
I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and where the filmmakers and the actors go from here. Filmmaking is a collaborative experience, and so is this podcast. Please take a second to subscribe so you know about future episodes and leave a review. It really does help us. For more information about today's guest, visit independentfilmmakersguide.com to see links to the episode in video and article form. IFG is a community, and we want to help you in your filmmaking process.
IFG is created by Framework Productions. This episode was directed by James Allardyce, produced and edited by Matt Mundy and Audrey Ray McHale, and hosted by Stephen Pierce. The music is by Glassboy. Find his music on freemusicarchive.org. See and listen to all the episodes, plus bonus content at independentfilmmakersguide.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey friends, we just wanted to take a quick moment to talk about two personal things. First, we wanted to thank you, our listening community, and our wonderful guests, learning so much together along the way and continuing to learn, sharing our stories, making a lot of new friends, and collaborating, which is exactly what this is all about. Which also brings me to my second point. In great part to many of these new relationships, we wanted to let you know that we've taken a lot of this advice ourselves and made our own narrative feature film, Herd. H-E-R-D, Herd, which is premiering this October on Friday the 13th in select theaters as well as on VOD. Personally, I think it's the perfect kind of scary movie to watch during our favorite scary season. So we'd love for you to celebrate with us and watch Herd. You can pre-order it on Apple TV and, of course, do the communal thing, see it in theaters. Of course, for all of this, please see our show notes, but basically, we're going to keep it all updated at herd.film. That's herd.film, herd.film as well. Thank you again, and be sure to give us a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to build this community and collaborate. IFG, how movies get made.